Hello guys, this is Sapphire Yagame with my review of episode of Teen Wolf titled Visionary. I know it's way behind since it's technically Sunday morning that I'm actually doing this review. But you know, things in life happen. I just been having a string of bad luck all this week, so there's nothing I can kind of do about it. So I'm gonna start off with this review. In this episode, we kind of go into we have Peter, if y'all remember who Peter is, goes into we talk about the past. So we're gonna have we're kind of doing another one of those flashback type episodes like previous episodes. And so I'm gonna go from the past to the present. If you could catch on what I'm saying. Okay. So starting off with the past, we see Derek Hale. Derek Hale. He's 15 years old. He's running through a foggy wood. He trips and falls in front of one of the Hunter's ultrasonic emitters. If you don't remember what those are, they are a device which broadcasts a high-pitched noise designed to herd werewolves to a certain direction. More than a dozen hunters are in the woods with flashlight, guns, and crossbows. Young Derek runs into another young man who recognizes him as a Hale just before an arrow pierces through the back of the young man's neck and lodges in his throat. I'm like, oh dang, that's messed up. Stunned, Derek just stands there as a hunter takes aim at him with a crossbow. As the shaft flies towards him, his uncle Peter steps up and grabs it out of the air. Both boys run. We then see Gerard and Chris Argent, which is Allison's dad and grandpa, flanked by several other hunters, approach the young man's dead body. Chris says that the dead man killed two of ours and orders the hunters to find Peter and Derek, but to bring them in alive according to the hunter's code. Now, we all know what happens when you disobey the hunter code. You get cuckoo and crazy. Then we go over to Derek and Peter, who then take refuge in the basement of an abandoned house. There's a large tree growing up through the foundation. Present date. We have Cora and Styles at Derek's loft. Cora's explained to Styles that her uncle and brother were in a basement hiding for 2 days. She says hide and heal is what werewolves are taught to do when the hunters find them. Because if you're injured, you gotta heal up because you can't really fight if you're injured. Kind of pointless. Styles is impatient with Cora's story. He doesn't understand how it will help him find Derek in the here and now. He indicates that Derek has not been seen since Boyd's death. Because you made the dude kill his own pack. I would be messed up too if you made me kill one of my own pack. Ugh. Styles thinks since everyone seems to be after Derek that he should be around to deal with the crisis. Cora says Derek has changed since she knew him. Peter then comes down and elaborates that saying that Derek was once like Scott. Derek was apparently once unbearably romantic and profoundly narcissistic. Peter says Derek's experience with the girl had changed his personality and the color of his eyes from yellow to blue. So then you're like, wait a minute, what you mean change the color of his eyes from yellow to blue? You're curious. We then go over to Scott and Allison, who go to visit Gerard to see what he know about the pack. The old man forces said pretty much tell Scott, "No, what I'm gonna tell you if you take some of my pain away." So Scott takes some of his pain away and get the man to start talking. All right, we go to another flashback again. We start off, okay, we see a girl named Paige. She's practicing the cello in the music classroom. But she can't really, concentrate because she hears this basketball up in the hallway and we got some rapping going on. Like it's straight up 80s. Yeah. That's all I was thinking about. So she goes to step in the hallway to see what, pretty much who's making the noise. She sees a group of teenage boys and a young Derek Hale. He was such a cutie when he was young. He's cute too. He's mixing up, but anyway. She asks them to stop. Derek, I'll stop if you can take the ball away. So he's kind of like doing this little cocky flirtation thing. So, she makes a few little half-hearted attempts at, to steal the ball away, and Derek, showing off a little trick dribbling. She then turns around and heads back to the music room. So his friends didn't leave, and he's like, oh, a little bit disappointed that, that she ain't try to flirt back. So he goes in and apologizes and asks her for her name. But she's like, I'm not going to tell you my name unless you play one instrument in this room. So then we see him going over to look at the instrument, and he comes back with something behind his back, right? So then he shows her the triangle and hits it. faking one note. I'm like, oh, that was funny. But she did say play one instrument in this room, and he asked her any instrument, and she like yeah. So he picked up the triangle. Anybody can play the triangle. And he tells her that she tells him that his name is Paige, and he's offers to tell her his name, but she's like, I know who you are. Back to the present. Because a third healer was found dead right after Dr. Deaton was rescued, Gerard hints that Deaton is behind the Darroch's killing spree. He suggests that Deaton staged his kidnapping and know he would survive had the third victim strung up already. Scott protests, saying Deaton would never let anyone innocent die. Gerard says Scott would be surprised how far someone would go to get rid of someone like Deucalion. And Addison replies, or someone like you. We don't need you and your family issues right now. We trying to get down to the master plan, Edison. We trying to figure out what's going on. We don't need you and your family issues, okay? We don't need that right now, okay? We then Gerard laughs and says that the events of season 2, if y'all remember season 2, with the whole Kanama and him spitting up this black goo stuff, has pretty much turned him to a celebrity with a doctor because he's almost cancer free, but the doctor cannot figure out why he is producing and expelling this black fluid from his nose and mouth. They are confounded. I'd be confounded too. Like what? Well, obviously I know what happened. I watched the show, but the doctors don't know. Medical mystery. So Scott becomes impatient and demands that Gerard tell them how to beat Deucalion. Gerard says, you can't. I've tried. Addison stands up and is like, oh well, he's wasting our time. Let's go. The old man then calls for her to wait, and then Jared offers up the cryptic advice that Deucalion has lost his eyes, but that he is not always blind. So he's like, wait a minute. How you blind, but you not blind? It's kind of confusing because even I was confused with him. I'm like, how you lose your eye? What you mean he lost his eye, but not blind? So I thought he was talking about like his senses, his wolf smell. You know what I'm saying? I thought maybe he's talking about that and your hearing, because they say if you lose one sense, your other ones are sort of enhanced. So I thought maybe he was talking about that. We go over to Styles. He is confused. According to Peter's story, Derek was a sophomore when he fell for Paige. Styles wants to know his age at the time. He also questions Peter's age back then and now. He gets the cryptic response, not as young as we could have been, but as not as old you think we might. And I was confused. Okay, what you mean you're not? Okay, trying to figure out their ages in this show is like so confusing. He then asks Cora her age. She responds that he is 17, which Styles finds a satisfyingly direct answer. She further confuses and frustrates the top by saying, 17, how would you measure in years? Styles then drops the question of trying to age him. I'm guessing, since they are werewolves, I'm guessing they probably would age like a wolf would age, not a human. I'm not even sure how a wolf ages. I'm guessing like dog years or something. So that means Derek could probably be an old dude. Ew. Peter continues his tale of Derek's, teenage romance with Paige. So, back when Derek was in his young days, Derek had a favorite getaway. It was an abandoned distillery outside of Beacon Hills. While Peter claims Derek told him all this because Peter was his nephew's closest and friend and confidant, he's lying. Let's just see. Peter was up in a spying on Derek and Paige as they made out. I'm like, you pervert. The couple's encounter is cut short when Derek smells blood and hears people approaching. The couple leave the distillery, but Peter remains behind and watches Enos, Kylie, and Deucalion arrive with their packs for full. So this is before they become an alpha pack. So we see all of them with their pack. Deucalion is not blinded yet. I mean, you'll be surprised who blinds him. I would go that, but now that I think about it, it really should have been a shock. We did see, I think that's how you pronounce the name. Enos is angry. He points to a frayed rope hanging from the ceiling and indicates that it was in that spot that the Argents killed one of his betas. Kylie wants to know why should she care about another's pack. One of her betas speaks up and says that the Argents don't discern between packs when they come after a werewolf, which is true. Y'all's a werewolf. We ain't gonna be like, oh, this is Kylie pack. We ain't gonna touch that. No, y'all wolves. Y'all the enemy. Y'all die. That's how they see it. Okay. Deucalion points out that the hunters do discern motive, saying that they wouldn't have attacked us unless somebody attacked them, which is true. So one of Deucalion's betas, Marco, says that Ennis' dead beta was young and naive and killed the hunter. Ennis says it was an accident. Gerard then picks up the tale from that point. He explains to Scott and Addison that each member of the current Alpha Pack had once gathered in Beacon Hills with their own packs in tow to seek guidance and advice from the Alpha, Talia Hale. Now, she was awesome because she was well known, widely respected in the werewolf community, and partly, majority, pretty much was reason why it was because she had the rare ability, again, repeat this, rare ability to fully shapeshift into a full-blown wolf. Not like the half wolf that, we always see Scott and Derek and them do. I'm talking about full-blown wolf, all fours, pretty fur, pretty eyes, beautiful. I wonder if that gene, apparently must have skipped a couple of generations if it's just his mom that was able to do that. Then we go back to the flashback. We have Talia, that's Derek's mom, explains that Deucalion that Vendetta is Ennis' right and that they are not the only people to adhere to the rituals thousands of years old. Now I'm like, okay, what you mean rituals? Hopefully we will get into all this werewolf rituals and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, it's too much. Deucalion says there's no excuse for not evolving. So pretty much saying that, yeah, we're wolves, but we're not animals. We're not going to just go attack on basically, your animal instincts. You have a brain. Use it. Ennis has grown tired of the useless debate. He yells that the hunters ripped out his beta's claws one by one. Ooh, ouch. When they tortured him, my fingers hurt. Deucalion begs him not to become a historical cliche, like the Wolfman. Arr. He cautions that a battle between two such powers will never end at an eye for an eye. If y'all don't know what that means, please look it up. You should know that what it means. Deucalion believes it will escalate to an all-out war if Ennis pursues Vendetta against the Argonauts, which would be true. All the Argonauts needed literally is probably for y'all to hit him one more time, and all they're gonna be like, oh well. Just kill some more. It's never going to end. They're always going to hate you guys, and you're always going to hate them. It's sort of never ending. Peter draws a similar spiral with his finger on the condensation collector out on the window in Derek's loft and explains to Styles that is their symbol for Vendetta. Styles referencing Peter's own revenge-fueled killing spree in season, happened in season 1. He says that the werewolves take the revenge thing to a whole new level. Cora says it's not just about revenge. She says losing a member of the pack is more painful than losing a member of your family. It's like you lose a limb. Because, in your pack, you act as one. Peter then relates how Beacon Hills authorities wouldn't let Ennis see the body of his dead beta. Obviously, because, we know how hospitals work. You gotta literally be family. That's how it works. We then go back to a flashback. We see a distraught Ennis menacing an orderly at Beacon Hills Hospital. Deputy Stilinski, he's not Sheriff Justice, Stilinski's daddy. He arrives and tries to calm him down, explaining that they're investigating the death as a homicide. He says no matter how close you were to him, you're still not family. Ennis is still angry, but Harpo said he was family to me. But you're not still bloodline family, and that's how it works in the medical community. Sorry. Peter says he looked at Ennis' situation and saw profound loss, but that Derek saw opportunity to always be with Paige. This is a lie. The truth was the opposite. In the past, young Derek is sitting in the classroom, using his high senses to listen to, Paige play Ave Maria. He makes his way to the music room and tries to distract her by gently brushing his lips along the outside of the ear. I'm like, she is trying to focus. See, you and your little wolfy teenage hormones need to go. She is trying to focus. So it works because now she's all hot and bothered now a little bit. So she starts playing and they end up declaring their love for one another and kiss. I'm so glad I was not like that in high school. That whole, oh my god, I love you, you love me, oh my god, I love you, and I love you, oh my god, you love you, la la. It was gross. Peter then claims that Derek lived in constant fear that Paige would find out that he was a werewolf, but we see in the past that this was a lie. So obviously Peter is pretty much telling the story, but he's lying pretty much about how he was in the past and how everything was actually going down. That's pretty much what Peter is doing. It was Peter who went to great lengths to convince Derek that if Paige found out he was pretty much aware that their relationship, because she'd be like, "Oh my God, you're a werewolf! I can't do this! Oh my God, no, no." Okay. So we have young Peter wants to know why Paige eats alone during lunch. Young Derek threats to have him banned from campus, but Peter says no one would ban him because he's too good looking. No, he really wasn't that good looking. Derek was good looking. He questions if Paige has any friends. Derek says she does, but she likes to study during lunch. And if you want to study, you don't want your friends though, because they're gonna be bringing you in conversation, and you ain't gonna be able to focus. You don't need all that drama. You trying to focus. And he thinks that she doesn't like his friends, and Peter says that no one should like Derek's friends, calling them hormonal halfwits. Well, you guys are, and it doesn't help that you're wearers too. It just makes it worse. Jesus. He then opines that Derek and Paige are perfect for each other. He says perfect combinations are rare. While opening and eating a Reese's peanut butter cup, which somebody notes says yeah. Usually they usually don't show actual people eating actual products and stuff. Huh. Peter then goes on to plant the seed that Derek should turn Paige into a werewolf so she won't leave him. So we see pretty much Peter apparently always being a little bit manipulative even as a youngin'. That was ridiculous. He then continues to lie to Cora and Styles, claiming that he tried to talk Derek out of turning Paige, even though we see that in the past. He's pretty much, telling Derek to have one of the alphas in town bite and turn Paige. Then go back to Chris and Gerard Argent. They examine the basement where Peter and Derek were hiding from the hunters. They notice that the large tree growing out of the foundation, and it has a symbol painted on its trunk. Chris explains that this is a five-fold knot, a druid symbol, and that the blood on the trunk indicates some sort of sacrifice took place there. He says that the basement is a Nemeton, a sacred space for ancient druids. According to Chris, druids pick a large older tree in the grove to represent the center of the world. If that would be related to like if Norse mythology, like Thor and Odin, I think they have a tree called can't pronounce it, Yggdrasil. It begins with a Y. I can't really pronounce it, but it kind of reminds me of something like that. Many believe that cutting or harming the tree would bring severe problems like fires, plagues, strife, death, destruction of all kinds to surrounding villages. Which is true. The druids were more in tune with nature at the time, so them hurting a tree was, no, don't do it. Allison then questions Gerard about why her father would know so much about druids. Jared says, "Know thy enemy," and goes on to describe the relationship of the ancient werewolves had with the druids, which the wolves called emissaries. Excuse me. He then recounts the tale of Lycon in ancient Greek. Alright, this is a Greek myth, and it's supposed to be pretty much how how the first werewolf was born, how we get the word like lycanthropy from. That's what his name's derived from. It's a Greek myth. So it starts off, according to the Greek myth, some citizens believe that they owed their life to Prometheus. If you don't know who Prometheus is the Titan who stole fire from the gods and brought it down to human beings. The gods punished him by chaining him to a tree, using chains made by Hephaestus, and he had pretty much an eagle constantly eating his liver every morning, and it would grow back, and the eagle would come back and eat it again. It's kind of like eternal torture. Constantly having your liver eaten every single day. It's kind of sucks. So, so some of the followers even took the names to honor the Titans instead of the gods. Because you gotta remember, the gods overthrew the Titans, so pretty much the gods ruled Mount Olympus. And so instead of the gods they took the name on the Titans instead of gods like Deucalion, who was named after the son of Prometheus. Lycon didn't just refuse to honor the gods, he challenged them. And now we all know you don't challenge God. I don't care whether it's a pagan god or it's a Jesus freaking Christ. Don't challenge him. It's not good for you. He invited Zeus to a banquet. Zeus is the king of the gods, king of Olympus. You know, lightning bolt, Hercules' daddy. Woo. He invited him to a banquet where he tried to serve him the flesh of a human being. Angered, Zeus pretty much blew the place apart with some lightning bolts, and he then punished Lycon and his sons by turning them into wolves. Now, this part is where we kind of get into a little bit of the Teen Wolf version of the mythology. You know, they kind of mix it together with the actual mythology and they mix it up with their own. Um, Lycon sought out the druids to help him turn back to human. The belief was that the ancient druids knew how to shapeshift. They couldn't make Lycon and his son human again, but they did teach him how to shift back and forth. And so the druids became important advisors to the pack. Now, remember this. Important advisors to the pack, because it's going to be very important later in the story. Peter then tells a startled Styles that Miss Moriel is an emissary to the Alpha Pack. And Styles wants to know why the werewolves never tell him important things like this. He says he shared a number of really intimate details with Miss Moriel. Styles admit she gave him good advice, and Peter says that's what emissaries do. So I was wondering what was the point of Miss Moriel and Dr. Deaton being here. I literally was trying to figure out what was the point of them being here. Because I'm like, they know way too much about these werewolves and stuff in Wolfsbane. They gotta be something important. They're druids. That makes sense. So Deaton is, we go over to Deaton. He's in conference with Talia and Deucalion. This is the past, at the animal clinic. So actually Deaton is their emissary. Deucalion wants to approach Gerard about a truce, a call for peace between the Argents and the Packs. Talia says Gerard might be the wrong approach, and boy, was she right. Dean thinks that this is because the Argents have a matriarchal leadership structure, but Talia says Gerard is in the wrong because he's a complete sociopath and who cuts people in half with a broadsword. We all seen that happen. That poor, what is it called? The Omegos is when you're the last one, you're kind of a loner. Deucalion is surprised that Dean and Talia have so little faith in people, saying he believes Gerard must be worried about the deaths on his own side as well. Deaton then trots out the old story of the scorpion and the frog. Now, I'm not sure if many of you guys know the story, but it's pretty much a story about nature, kind of pretty much about a person's nature. The scorpion and the frog meet on the bank of the stream. The scorpion asks the frog to carry him across his back. The frog asks, "How do I know you won't sting me?" The scorpion says, "Because if I do, I'll die too." The frog is satisfied by this answer. They set out, but in midstream, the scorpion stings the frog. The frog feels the onset of paralysis and starts to sink, knowing they both will drown, but had just enough time to gasp why. The scorpion says, "It's in my nature. It's his nature to sting you." Even though he wants to get across the thing, his nature is going to sting you. Same thing with a snake. A snake's nature, if it feels threatened, is going to bite you. That's how it goes. That's how it works. The story is to point out to Deucalion that his faith in humanity won't matter if he underestimates Gerard's true nature, which is true. We can meet a lot of people every single day in this world and try to have faith in them, but their true nature will always show. And that's, look at our history. We tried, cultures have tried, and look what has gotten them. It's in their nature. We can't help it. Talia then advises Deucalion to meet Gerard on neutral ground and not to walk in alone. Yes, please don't walk in alone. Deucalion says, "I'm an alpha. I'll never walk alone." At school, we have Paige alone in a darkened hallway. She has a note in her hand, which seems to be a request from Derek to meet him at school. Instead of her love, Enos shows up and begins to chase her through the school. Derek is sitting in the locker room with a basketball and listening to Paige, whimper and cry. Cora surprised that young Derek would have asked Enos to turn Paige. Peter says he was a perfect choice since he had just lost a pack member and by doing a favor for Derek. Enos thought he would gain a place in Talia's good graces. Styles says Derek doesn't remember it was Enos, and Peter says if he does remember, he hasn't said so. Young Peter was also at the school that night listening to Enos attack Paige. Derek reaches the point that he can't stand to listen to Paige suffering anymore, and he goes to help her. He finds her crawling on the floor of the hallway and goes to try to stop Enos, but he tosses tosses him something like it was a freaking paper bag doll. Derek sees that Paige is already bitten and stops fighting. Gerard relates how Deaton came to arrange the meeting with Deucalion. Gerard says he was surprised and quotes English poet William Blake, who said, "When a sinister person means to be your enemy, they always start by trying to become your friend." Scott questions how Gerard knew Deucalion wasn't actually trying to make peace, and Gerard says, "Because I'm not an idiot." He then tells the score he tells the scorpion and the frog, but in his own version, which he describes as a Sanskrit fable, he replaces the frog with a turtle, but the outcome is the same. It's in my nature. Gerard says he knows a werewolf's nature and that Deucalion offered a peace meaning was pretty much a trap, and this is a lie. Gerard was waiting with several hunters when Deucalion arrived at the abandoned distillery with 3 members of his pack. Gerard says the meeting place is fitting because distillation is the separating of 2 substances by pushing them into their individual volatile states. Picking up on this, Deucalion says that volatile is the state he is hoping to avoid. Gerard then cranks open the valve, releasing a white gas into the room from several sources. Both werewolves and humans go down from the effects of the gas. Gerard stabs himself with what appears to be an auto-injectory syringe. It is not clear what is in the syringe, but it makes him immune to whatever is affecting others. So pretty much, to kill these werewolves, he gonna put his own men in danger. And he's right. This dude is crazy. He does crazy. Don't need to be on this earth no more. It don't need to be on this earth no more. It doesn't. When relating to the cell that Addison Scott, Gerard Live says Deucalion ambushed him when we know he didn't. Okay. After he releases Gad, Gerard takes out his homemade spike medicine and he uses it to beat down his old men as the hunters struggle to get up to their feet. Deucalion is shocked not only by the attack but by the fact that Gerard is killing his own men too. Gerard says the hunters with him also believed in peace with werewolves and therefore they had to go. He said the deaths will be blamed on Deucalion. He's pretty much setting him up. Kill his own men so it looks like where the werewolves kill him, which will explain why he has a spike mace. As Peter is finishing up the tale of Derek and Paige, he said that the bite didn't take with Paige, and he said it should have because she was young and strong, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. So while we have the Paige dying slowly in pain, we have some music playing over from it's by Mozart. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the Latin phrase of this. I'm gonna try Lacrimosa dis Ilia or something like that. Sorrowful Day. That's what it plays. And so she's pretty much dying slowly. Peter is skulking in the shadows, and Derek is holding her at the base of the druid tree in the abandoned house. Back over to Deucalion, he's crawling out of the distillery and rolls over in the dirt as Gerard stalks after him. Deucalion begs the old man not to harm him further, saying he had a vision of peace. Gerard mocks him, saying that his vision was short-sighted. He then takes out 200 flashbang arrows and thrusts them into Deucalion's eye. And now we know why that Deucalion is blind. Gerard blinded him. Back to Derek. He takes away as much of Paige's pain as he can, but she's still stuffing cupping. It didn't take with her. Some it takes with, some it don't. She explains that she knew he was different. She suspected that he was a werewolf because she had seen strange things in town, and also because of the way he spoke, saying he caught a scent. She knows she is gonna die and asks him to end it, and he does it gently by breaking her neck. Peter explains that when he took Paige's body to the woods where she would be found, and her death attributed to another in a long line of Beacon Hill's animal attacks. He then tells Steele that killing an innocent takes a piece of a werewolf's soul, making it a bit darker. This shows up in the eyes, turning Derek's eyes from the golden yellow to a cold blue. So that's why they're blue. So, and we see Peter's eyes blue, so we know what he done did. Did you go back over to Dr. Deaton, who's treating Deucalion's injured eyes as best as he could at the animal clinic? He explains that while his tissue grows back, his sight will not return. Deucalion lets out a roar of rage and asks to be left alone. Talia and Dr. Deaton leaves, but Deucalion's beta doesn't. Marco, he stays. When Alpha again asks that he be left alone, Marco attacks him. Deucalion partly transforms and realizes that he can see Marco and turns toward him, attacking quickly and viciously, killing him on the examination table. Gerard finishes his story by telling Scott that Deucalion can see as a wolf. Allison wonders aloud if they can take advantage of that fact. Gerard asks Scott again to take some of his own pain, and Scott obliges. Gerard then launches into a speech about doing things differently. What if he had tried to cure his cancer by forcing the bite? He wondered when it became his nature to believe that most things couldn't be asked for but had to be taken. Scott calls BS on this and says the whole time Gerard was talking, his heartbeat never went up or down. Gerard claims that this was because he was telling the truth. Scott says it might be because he's a really good liar. He then threatens Gerard, saying that if the old man lied and gets people hurt, Scott will return and take away more than your pain. I'm like, oh snap, he is getting grimy and dirty, Lord. Cora questions Styles' look. He feigns ignorance as to what look she was referring, and she says the look that makes her want to punch him. Styles says she's definitely Derek's sister. He then explains that he doesn't believe Peter's account of what happened pretty much between Derek and Paige, which is true. You should believe him anyway. The whole dude was lying about majority of stuff anyway. He explains that they are reading Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness in school, and that the book's narrator, Charles Marlowe, is an unreliable narrator, telling the story from his perspective, which may or may not be what actually happened. Styles said they didn't get the whole story from Peter, and when Cora asks if he plans to ask Derek about the girl he loved but had killed, Styles says if he has to. We then go back to little Derek, and he is covered in Paige's blood and the black goo that seeped out as she rejected the bite. His mother comes to him in the abandoned basement, and Talia calls his name and he confesses. She says she knows, and he then explains that his eyes are different. She says they are different, but they are still beautiful just like the rest of you. Oh, don't you love mothers? Derek returns to the abandoned distillery as an adult. He once again hears the strains of Schubert's Ave Maria as he remembers Paige and stares at the spiral Enos cut into the wall so many years ago. So that was pretty much a good episode. It was a little bit sad. But we officially have 4 episodes left in the Teen Wolf season. And it's about to be good. So I'll see you guys Monday night for the review of episode 9. See you guys next time.